Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the StacyM Show. I'm here with the lovely AJ, who I met, would have been around 2015, I think, because you're one of the reasons why I ended up going out on my own in my legal practice back then. So we've known each other for a little while. AJ is a beautiful human being who I've used as a business coach and with my team throughout the 10 years I've had my legal practice as well. And today we're doing an episode on burnout, which we have both personally experienced, and no doubt most of you guys have as well. So AJ, if you want to give us a quick introduction as to who you are, and we'll get started with today's show.
Oh, thank you, Stacy. It's always lovely to connect. And I love how we just jump in as if there's been no gap in between, even though we don't see each other that often. But I've been loving following you online and seeing what you're up to, and super proud of where you're at and how you are graciously handling everything that life throws your way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm a leadership and business coach and a facilitator and a speaker. I really love nothing more than seeing people thrive in whatever way, shape, or form that may be. I love helping leaders become better so that they create better workplace environments for their teams where those people can then thrive as well. Because I really believe that we spend so much time at work and it has such a big impact on our whole life and how we get to show up in our lives. I'm really loving living on the land. So I pay my respects to the peoples of Wonnarua and Darkinjung land where I reside. And so I get to walk country every day. And I've recently created a boardroom in the bush. So actually have a space now where I can bring leaders and teams and people out to actually be with nature and experience, I guess, the connection and the way we feel and think differently when we combine our business intelligence with nature's wisdom. So, yeah, that's a bit about me. Love what I get to do, and I love having a yarn with people like yourself, Stacy. So, looking forward to talking about the big B burnout.
Yeah, I definitely love. So as I said, Andrew Dart is the one who introduced us all those years ago, Darty and Naomi. And it was before I went out on my own. He's like, you have to speak to AJ. Like you just have to go to her. I'm like, okay, no worries. So how old was I? How old I was? We mean like early 30s, I think, when I must have been going out on my own for my legal practice. And we sat at the beach. Like it was like that was our meeting even back then. And given we both come from corporate, like I've done international practices and national practices, and to actually have like a business meeting at Merriweather Beach, it was just in my zone. You asked me, where do you want to go? I'm like, the beach. Like that's where I find it really peaceful, and I really enjoy just sitting there. And I first met him might have actually been at Cardiff, but I know we definitely had met at Merriweather Beach a few times.
Yes.
And the fact that it was so comforting knowing that I could approach business a different way that wasn't the corporate expectation that people had. I think that's why we've kept in contact for all these years. And as you said, we might not see each other. I think last time we saw each other face to face was probably COVID, when we had a retreat at your place with a few local other people. But we've definitely done stuff as a team as well, like within my team, and just having that different. I use the word holistic. I don't know whether that's the right word to use or not, but just having that less pressure approach to having business and with a team was really comforting, and my team loved it as well. So
and we did theirs in the park, I remember.
We did Maitland Park.
Maitland Park. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a lovely day. It was, as I said, it's not very often we've actually met inside. If it was, it would have been for weather purposes probably. But
yeah, true.
But like I just said, even at your place, going for bushwalks and talking, and it's definitely something. I mean, it's not for everybody who can appreciate it, but if you haven't tried it, I definitely think you need to appreciate it, because it's a lot. I find, when you're grounding yourself with earth and you're outside in nature and you're kind of having that business meeting, but you're out and walking, it's a completely different experience to kind of, having in an office. But today we were trying to work out what to talk about. We've had a couple of cracks at doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I'll myself to blame. I actually had to have a nap before this one. So I told AJ, like, just let me have a nap. Like, I'm absolutely exhausted. So I've had my nap. I've had my B12 squirt in my mouth with to try and give me energy. But burnout, we thought was pretty relevant. We both experienced it. If you're not sure, I'm going through stage 3 cervical cancer at the moment. So I know that definitely how I've lived my life to this date has taken a toll internally. I'm not going to get too much where we're into the whole, cancer thing or not, because that's not the debate here today. But I definitely know that neglecting my body and not looking after myself and not putting myself first, it's very hard to do that as a mum and as a business owner, has definitely taken its toll on me internally. And burnout is something, look, I've never been diagnosed with kind of having burnout, but I definitely have spoken before about knowing when my body is about to say, Stacy, slow down, I'm going to drop you on your ass for the next, it might be a day, next time might be 3 days, next time it might be a week, and it gets it gets harsher and harsher as it goes along. Like, it's not just I have a nap and I'm fine. So
as we get older.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wasn't going to say the old part, but
I've got grey hair. Come on.
I just went a little bit more brown recently, so I'm like, it's going to be a while, assuming I still have hair left. So I went darker. But
make the most of it.
But burnout. So this is not just from a female perspective. Obviously, we're both females, but AJ has worked with both male leaders as well. And it's not even just leaders either. It's just people in general experiencing burnout. I think it's very hard to switch off with all the technology and crap that we have at the moment. But I suppose to start off with, do you think burnout is something that we have just normalized and you just expected to get over it? Get over it. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. It's interesting. I was only thinking about it recently because I don't go to many networking events anymore. I'm very choosy about what I leave the country for. And I went to a networking event, and I would say at least 70 or 80% of the people, when I met them and asked how they were and what they were excited about, they said busy. When you say, how are you? Yeah. They said busy. And they weren't necessarily saying it as a badge of honor, but it was very much the prevalent first thing in their mind was to talk about being busy. And they didn't say to me, oh, I'm ecstatic, I'm overjoyed, or I'm so chill. No one said that. And what I see in my work in leadership and also helping organizations with cultures, because often the cracks that are showing in cultures are literally just a demonstration of the cracks that are happening in individuals, because cultures and businesses are just a collection of humans. And so the more our cracks are showing, the more they're showing up in businesses and those sorts of things. And so I really believe we're seeing burnout at levels that we've never experienced before. I think post-COVID world, really incredibly things have gone higher in that way. And I think a lot of people now working from home and thinking that would give flexibility, a lot of businesses have actually laid off staff, got less staff. So now it's this whole do more with less, more pressure. Yeah. And people are starting to see that as some form of personal failure. And I just want to honor and acknowledge where you're at in your journey. And I'm hearing you say I neglected my body, but I actually think you just prioritized your business and your work and your girls, right? So it was just that you were prioritizing some other things. And so that kind of slipped by the wayside a bit. And that's what happens in our complex world where we're trying to juggle 10,000 plates instead of 100 years ago where our great grandparents had like 4 or 5 plates maybe that they had to juggle. And I heard this really interesting stat the other day that was the amount of information that our grandparents consumed in their whole lifetime, whether that was through newspapers, books, school. Back then they would have only had radio, not television. But the amount of information they consumed in their whole lifetime is how much we consume in guess how long?
Probably a day.
1 week.
Oh, a week. Well, it's close.
So we've jammed like literally our great grandparents' whole life and all the stuff they had to deal with into 1 week. And yeah, we've got greater kind of quality of life and things like that, but we are literally running at this really fast pace. And so I really believe that burnout isn't a personal failure. It's a systems issue. It's also an energetic issue. And
Yeah.
the more we've disconnected, and that's where nature came in for me, and kind of understanding what was going on in my body. I went kicking and screaming to that, mind you, in my late 30s. It wasn't like something I've been good at all my life. But the more I started to look at that, the more I realized how much I'd sacrificed in my health and well-being because I had really pushed and chased, my work, and I loved my work, and it had led to all sorts of things, not just my health and well-being breakdown, but relationship breakdowns and, all sorts of things, friendships, and not being able to maintain those. And, stats today say that, employee engagement is really important, but the majority is that Australia itself, the cost of depression and absenteeism and all of those things and burnout is $8 billion to the Australian.
Wow. And that's just Australia.
Just Australia. And I mean, we're piddly, right, compared to other big nations. It costs us $8 billion in lost productivity because people are overwhelmed and stressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah, it is. Like, imagine what the stats are in the States. Like, if we're 8 billion, like
that'll be phenomenal.
That's really scary.
Yeah.
I suppose when you're talking about like distancing yourself, I think it just hits a point where you just know you can't keep doing what you were doing, I suppose. So I had definitely experienced in the early days when I was on my own, obviously I was doing everything because I didn't have team members back then. Without fail, about every quarter, I would completely lose my voice, like have nothing, couldn't even whisper to clients, like my voice would just be gone. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll get over it. Like, yep, just have, doesn't say Metamucil. That's not what I have. What do you have for like Cepacol and, trying to get rid of
Metamucil. You lose your voice, but you find something else.
Yeah, look, I probably was doing that to throw everything at it. Like Cepacol and like having your soothers and everything like that. And then as it got on, I would get knocked on my ass harder and harder. That's what we're saying before we hit record. It's you kind of have those little niggling feelings, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, if you keep pushing this, you're going to be on your ass for like a day. And then a day turns into 3 days to a week. And how hard it hit just got worse and worse and worse.
Right.
And I suppose for me, it was, I'm not quite sure whether it was a combination of just learning different things and setting boundaries and, reading books and listening to podcasts and, you're every morning without fail, you do you're live walking around like your farm and everything. And it's like, I just need to set better boundaries. And, this person's draining my energy. It's a very one way. Okay, maybe get rid of. And I just started culling things, I suppose. Clients who didn't suit us, you don't have to act for every client, Stacy. Not every client is for us. So just started to set those boundaries in. I mean, that's very easier said than done. And I just said, like with my health, like some things I was really good at. My skin, I got checked yearly because my grandma died of skin cancer. My eyes, I got checked yearly. My teeth, so it wasn't that I was neglecting everything completely. I can't even tell you why I neglected my pap smear for so long. But it takes something like this to what I'm going through now to like, okay, like this shit's got to change. Like this isn't cool. And I think it has sort of somewhat normalized. Like if you don't burn out, you're not working hard enough. You're not going to be successful. And, I'll scroll on social media. I own 84 companies. How many do you own? I'm like, well, I don't own 84 and I don't want to earn 84. Like, I think there's like, congratulations. Are they making money? What's your net? Like maybe my net's higher than your net with like 4 businesses. Like, so I definitely think there's a culture out there where, it's a mix of, you have to hustle, whether you're an employee or an employer. It doesn't matter where you're at, but you have to hustle and you have to go really hard and you have to sacrifice spending time with friends and family to own these 84 companies to earn SFA because you're so spread thin. where people might struggle is thinking that they're a failure because they hustled and they failed, or they can't hustle to the point where they think they have to hustle to be successful. Like, what are some of your thoughts in relation to, well, probably that hustle mentality, and whether you're an employer or employer, that part's irrelevant. It's obviously different for both because, you know, it kind of stems from, you know,
or a mum,
down.
Right?
Still, or just a mum or a dad.
A mum will still be hustling, you know, a grandma, anyone could still be in that mode. And I love that you picked up on losing your voice every quarter or so, because often there are such early warning signs, right? And we tend to ignore them. And I know for me, I actually had precancerous cells 3 times, you know, in my cervix. And so that every time when I look back, I go, yeah, there was a period of like 6 months of stress before that, you know, heightened stress. And so it's like the body doesn't lie. It's just trying to go, well, there's all this stress that I need to get it out. And the same thing in relationships, and that you kind of go, if we could take away the stress, can we meet each other? Because without all the friction of all the stuff. And so I do think scrolling social media, the comparisonitis that goes on is really fueling this sense of I have to hustle or I have to do things. And what I know for sure now, having studied energetics, having become a yoga therapist as well, to understand my own body and what was going on. And I went kicking and screaming to that as well. Like when I first started yoga, the shavasana at the end where they lay down and integrate, I would lay there. I don't want to swear, but I'd be like, what the hell are we doing? And in this 3 minutes, I could have achieved so much. And yet here I am. And the yoga teacher would look at me wiggling and she'd be like, lay still, AJ, because I'd be like wanting to get up. And so, you know, it didn't come naturally to me because I'd been so in my left brain. And when I really had to actually leave corporate and made choices to do that for my well-being, you know, I had adrenal fatigue, Hashimoto's, high cholesterol, pre-diabetes. I was stressed and I was sick and tired. And I would have told you I was fine. I still ran 10K on my treadmill of a morning. I still did all the things, and you know, I was drinking I think 3 cans of Diet Coke then every day, you know, eating lollies, sugar, like, because I had to do anything to keep myself up. And I would have told you I was okay until I stopped and then realized I am seriously not okay. And then actually started to have some heart palpitations and issues and thought I was having heart attacks. And so for so many of us, we ignore those little niggly signs. You know, a few aches and pains, a little bit of a cold and flu again, or, you know, not sleeping well is often a really good sign that things are going.
It's just normal now. I'm old. I've had kids, you know, you don't realize how bad you are until you're not bad anymore. We normalize it. We don't look into the root cause of it.
Absolutely. And I think to myself, so let's just say, imagine for a moment you're like, so we're going to go to the beach because I know you love the beach. Imagine you're walking down a path and you're on your way to visit Merriweather Beach, and there are birds singing and you can smell the sea breeze, right? And everything's really lovely. And you're like, oh, great, I'm going to the beach. And then you see a sign that the council have put out or something, and it says, caution, snakes have been sighted in this area. Right? So how would you respond then?
There's a sign at our office in the Maitland saying careful brown snake, and every time I go there, I hear a rustle, like,
You're like,
so probably be the same. But they're kind of expected because it's the beach too. So look, there would be a bit of a heightened anxiety. I think I would still go, but I'm still not going to be as zen as what I could be if I had not have saw that sign, I suppose.
Okay. And so you see the sign and then you're like, oh, there's a stick on the ground, you know, and you, like you said, you hear a rustle and you're like, no, you know, is that a snake? Yeah, I saw a red belly yesterday and had to call my dogs back, you know, just in the backyard. But literally our brain goes into this kind of stressed mode, you know, of heightened awareness. And for most of us, every day is like that. We may not be seeing snakes every day, but every day our brain is in that heightened stress mode. And so every little thing is like, so it's actually traumatizing us every day.
Yeah.
And what we need to do, and what's not happening enough for most of us, is we're not feeling psychologically safe in our bodies. And so therefore we're often not psychologically safe at work. We're not psychologically safe in our day-to-day. And so everything is kind of a threat, whether we're thinking that or not. Mostly we're not actually logically thinking that, but it's what's going on in our bodies. So our bodies, the dear little things, are trying to keep us regulated, and we're just not regulated. We're, our adrenals and everything are pushed to the limit. And 90% of disease in the world today is caused through some form of stress.
Yeah.
But
it's, as I've been saying before, like with my treatment, I start chemo and radiation next week. We're probably, or maybe digressing a little bit now, but that's not even part of it. Like there was no, so my treatment's in the Mater Hospital. The Mater Hospital is a beautiful hospital. Like there is like green grass everywhere. There's places outside where you can go. Like it's absolutely like beautiful hospital. There's so you can go outside for like a little break if you want, or go earth. Or when I asked about diet, like go home and eat all the chocolate you like. Like I'm like, okay, no, that's probably how I got myself into this mess. But just, I think the education behind trying to control these things, like, and at the moment I'm like root cause, like, even like, the tragic incident that we had on the weekend, like here in Australia with Bondi, is like root cause, and everyone's, quick to react. Like, what's the root cause of everything? We fix the root cause and then we can start to heal and to do whatever. And, you can watch all the, I think it's because Western medicine is just so, here's a pill. And we're
it's a pharmaceutical.
Yeah, there's money in sick people. I've said that for years, and hopefully I'm not digressing again, but it's like the root cause. Like, okay, so stress can cause so many different issues within the body, and it might start small. Like the cancer that's within me is probably about 10 years old, and I only know about it now. Like if you're not getting regular checkups and stuff, like my blood results that I get yearly didn't even pick up any of this, so if you're not taking good care of yourself, you and then there's obviously now people trying to profit from people thinking they're going to get sick, because now there's, you have this MRI to detect this and this, and hey, it's $5,000. So, there's no happy medium in the middle. But the whole root cause of, the stress, why am I getting run down? Why am I losing my voice every quarter? Why do I think that this is normal? I used to have so much more energy and now I don't. And you're probably never going to live like 100% life, but there are small changes that you can do to try to reduce the stress that's in your life. And, breath work is one. I've been told breath work is really good, and I haven't done it yet. I need to mentally prepare myself for that. But yoga is another one. I know I usually lay there going, come on, I could be like doing so many things at the moment, just like on this floor, like, so I'm completely.
How can this be doing anything? Yeah.
I charge up $500 an hour. Why am I lying on this floor? What am I missing out on? Like, it's all the background noise, and you might even be trying to do meditation, but you're not present because you're thinking of all the other things that you should be doing. Within that time. So
completely,
whether it's a busy mum, busy dad, busy whoever, what are some real basic things that we can do to help put ourselves in the right direction? It's not going to fix the root cause, but little changes here and there will add up over time.
Absolutely. And I am a huge advocate of small shifts that make big changes. And I am not someone that goes, you have to radically turn your life around the next day. And what I know for sure is burnout doesn't hit like a bolt of lightning. It's creeping in slowly, like you said, little triggers. Oh, I'm not sleeping well. Oh, I just don't feel as happy or fulfilled, and all of those sorts of things. Everything is just slowly eroding our dear little nervous system. And, we really do push it. So there is a lot to be said in all of the different things that you're talking about, whether it's breath work, yoga, all of those things. And I think all of them are just about being in the present moment And we might hear that, and as a busy mum say, and you're running around picking up the kids from school drop off, you're like, I've got to get groceries. Now there's Christmas, and often for many in the sandwich generation, where they're also looking after senior elderly parents as well.
Sandwich generation.
Yeah, sandwiched in between the kids and the parents, like trying to deal. Yeah, doing the parenting of their children and the parenting of their parents, the reverse parenting.
Yeah, I've never heard that term before.
It's a squishy area in the middle, kind of, and it's why women and men too really have challenges around that kind of 40s, 50s area, because often that's when they are sandwiched and they're starting to go, maybe my ladder was against the wrong wall and I've been chasing a dream that's not really a dream. And now I've got mortgage, 2 cars, blah, blah, blah. I have to keep working to maintain just what I have. And so this pressure of needing to continually perform. And so I'm really big about small shifts or can you have micro moments through your day? I had to learn to love the yoga. And yet once I started to really kind of create a bit of a groove and a pattern in my brain where, okay, here's my space and I'm going to go with it, the more I actually started to feel the benefit of it. Not a day goes by now where I don't walk in the bush every morning and just be with nature. And so there is this tipping point, and I call it the point of surrender, where we can only push so far, and we realize that everything we're often doing that is causing the stress is forcing. We're really forcing. And I'm not talking about let's just all sit on the lounge and eat bonbons for the rest of our life, because, I'm not going to force. But there's this point of surrender where you go, I can do my part, that's enough. And then I'm going to let go and let God or let universe, right? And so once we find that singular point, and I find it when I'm in meditation, I find it when I'm on the yoga mat, I find it when I'm in the bush, of this, I don't have to be or do anything. Like I'm just going to be present to my breath and the birds. That's when flow actually starts. And that's when we start to go, I just had an idea. Maybe there's a better way to do that. I just realized that that's not serving me anymore. You don't get those realizations when you're packing everything in, but it's when you have some spaciousness that you get some realizations and you start to go, maybe there are some smarter ways, or maybe that doesn't matter anymore and I could just release that altogether. So I've had quite a few moments of point of surrender in my life. And I'm guessing most of the people listening to this could actually go through their life and go, yeah, that was one of those moments where I had to release. But the more I think we can start to do that as a daily practice. And so it is little things like little bits of movement, like moving our energy. The whole point of yoga is to allow you to meditate. It's actually to open up all your energy channels and allow your blood to flow so that you're oxygenated so you can sit and meditate. Because when we're in that space of just quiet and stillness, it's not about silencing the mind. And I think lots of people go, well, I can't meditate because I can't shut my mind up. And I always say, well, can you stop your heart? Could you for a moment put your hand on your heart and think, I'm going to stop? And no, you can't, because it's automatic. And so is the brain. So it's always going to think. It's a thinking machine. But if we could still the body, at least we allow everything to move into its own healing rhythm. And so whatever floats your boat, sound, your favorite music, playing with your dog, laughing at a funny movie, I don't care. Find some moments in your day where you can drop into that space where I'm not pushing at anything. I would say that's a really first step. Yeah.
And it's funny that you just said yoga oxygenates your body, because I was listening to a podcast before, and disease happens when we don't have enough oxygen within our body. So when you start piecing all the stuff together, it makes sense. It's just because it's not
totally
westernized, I suppose, that the root cause stuff, the hippy dippy stuff kind of gets pushed below. But I reckon the best meditation session I had was at your place, and Beck Gibson did the meditation. And I don't think if Beck can be with me every single day.
She's great, isn't she?
Whether she drugged me or not, I have no idea. She's such a beautiful person. that was probably the best meditation session that I have ever had. And part of that was probably knowing I was going to your place. That was my time. I wasn't going there to rush. I wasn't going there to meet people or anything. I was going there purely to have that moment. And I still remember that meditation session at your place a few years ago.
Wow.
And, you know, the meaning behind, you know, what we saw and everything like that. But I still feel there's guilt. Like, I know you said like the little micro sessions, like I love watching comedies. I will watch the same thing over and over and over again, which is like an ADHD trait. I know that it's like a self-regulation trait. Like, I'm well aware of all of that. But my girls are the same. So, you know, there are some days I just have to have like an Adam Sandler day. I'm like, right, we're watching Grown Ups 1, Grown Ups 2, we're putting Billy Madison on, and, you know, laughing is like really, really good.
Totally.
I've discovered a Martha Stewart channel. Oh my gosh. When I'm having a bad day, I'll sit and watch Martha Stewart. Like,
fantastic.
But yeah, those little micro moments. But I think there still feels, you know, because the whole, you have to put your mask on first, right? To help others. But it's so hard to do that. And I suppose I have done that for so very long. And now I'm going to be, you know, I'm out the whole entire school holidays having to do radiation and chemo while my kids are on school holidays. So by me not putting my mask on first, my kids now have to suffer probably about 2 months of mum not being able to do much because I haven't put myself first for so long. So for those people who think that there still might be, you know, guilt attached to having the 5 moments of, you know, 5 minutes extra in the shower, or you know, I can't go for a walk, you know, playing with your dog or your animal is a really good one. You know, so it's not like you have to be out there doing physical activity or anything, but I try to incorporate things with the girls. So I did try meditation and yoga with them. They weren't a fan. I tried. So I just say, go away and just let mum do it, and I'll be back in
even drawing, like drawing mindfully, like colouring in.
Colouring or drawing we'll do. Even putting Lego. We've got some Lego set into us. So I don't know. Do you have any tips? I suppose for me, it was always guilt. I need to be doing something, laying down, doing yoga. I should be doing something. Like, I don't, you know, so I know we've already briefly discussed it, but just trying to have less guilt with trying to have that 5 minutes for yourself with someone that's struggling to, you know, put their oxygen mask on first, perhaps, especially with little kids. With the kids a bit older, it's a bit easier, but
I think recently, you know, I've been walking with elders for about 10 years now and had the privilege of spending some time with some beautiful Indigenous elders here from Australia. And what a couple of them often say is, you have to be the boss of self first. And so they're really big on, you must be the boss of self. And a reminder, because they think so contextually over a long period of time, and we tend to just get focused on, I've got to get through today, this week, this year. Oh my God, how am I going to get a promotion? You know, I need to do this, the mortgage. And they talk about the impact of things that they do 7 generations. So they're really big on, how I take care of myself now is going to be seen by my daughter and my daughter's daughter and her daughters. And so I'm shaping how my whole lineage will live. And, you know, that's where hereditary disease comes from, right? That's where family trauma comes from, is that it is carried through. And so there's this absolute responsibility, I think, as well, that I have to take care of myself. I have to be boss of self, because there's actually a ripple effect from that. And it may not be apparent immediately, as you've shared yourself personally, but it's going to show up somewhere. And it's hard to remember that in the moment. It's hard to go, in another 150 years, this is going to show up, you know, in my family in a certain way.
Because I didn't take that walk. No.
That's right. But when I look around the bush, I see it every day. You know, I see trees and the way that they grow, and, you know, their growth rings and how slow that is. And if we could only just stop and hold for a moment and remember what's important and come back to that, we would start taking care of ourselves. And as you were saying, it's the simplest things. Could you make some tiny shifts, like at least just drinking a bit more water and maybe having a few deeper breaths? For pretty much most of the population, they're shallow breathing high in their chest because of the tension and the stress. And so the more we shallow breathe, the less able our body is to flush toxins and to clear our system and to oxygenate everything. And so I just saw it, my father just recently passed away, and he basically became bedridden and immobile. He had no circulation in his legs, and it was a slow decline of just not being boss of self and letting go of some of those things that are so vital and so important. So as a yoga therapist, one of the things that I see a lot is that people are depleted in all of those basic things. And just like I look at the trees, they just need water and air and sunlight and some nutrients, and they're good to go. And so are we. Like, it's so basic and simple. I don't need a Louis Vuitton handbag. I just need to drink water and have some better deep breaths. And so even as you're listening to this, take a sip of water, take a moment to take a breath. The body is innately a healing mechanism. And that's where I think, bless the doctors and people who do their best, but really the Western medical system is built around disease and pharmaceuticals. How often do you go to your doctor when you're really well and say, doctor, take a scan. This is exactly how I want to feel when I'm good, and help me keep there. We just don't do it. We go when we're sick, and we should be going and saying, help me maintain this. And so I really say the body is absolutely so spot on clever at it. Just create a healthy environment for it to do its thing. So even as far as our breath goes, people often aren't aware that we breathe out of one nostril for 40 minutes and then the other one for 40 minutes. And so our breath regulates itself. Every 40 minutes it changes. And you know how when little babies are sleeping and mums put a mirror under their nose to kind of check that they're breathing? Right. And so if you did that, you'll see that your breath only comes out of one nostril, and then 40 minutes later it switches. And in Indian Ayurvedic medicine, they call it the Ida and Pingala. And so the right nostril is heating, and it heats the body and gets the temperature to the right regulation. And then the left, the Pingala, is cooling. And so it balances and makes sure we don't get too hot, we don't get too cold. And so the body does that all day long. We don't even have to think about it. And so really, you don't have to feel guilty. You just need to go, I'm just going to create a nice, healthy environment. So what I watch, what I eat, what I think about, who I allow in, all is my healthy environment. What can you do to just make your environment maybe 10% healthier? That's it. Go for that.
Well, the body keeps a score, right? Like,
absolutely.
We could do a whole other episode. At all.
I know, it's like numbers all over. Dear. My partner has had a lot of health issues this year, and he's like, that was from that job in my 20s. That's from BMX riding in my teenage years. Almost like the body keeps score. He's got like a scorecard, I'm sure, all over his body.
But like, even someone pointed out, like, the Chinese, it's not Chinese New Year, where the year of the snake, so like the shredding. And so I'm a dog, so I'm a dog and a snake, and next year, is it a horse year next year?
Horse, yeah.
Horse, yes. I'll be dogging a horse year. And I was looking at what ChatGPT came up with. I'm like, oh my God, like my health now, I would have known at the start of the year. Like, why didn't I fucking Google that at the start of the year?
Right.
It wouldn't be this bad. Like, it was, believe it, don't believe it, or whatever. But
and that's where ChatGPTs and that can be really helpful, is to say to it, these are the things I enjoy, like watching funny movies. I enjoy going for a walk. I'm not into running. I'm not, like, put that into it and say, a year from now, I want to feel this way. Develop me a little plan that just has 5 minutes a day for me to maintain or improve my health by 5%. It will spit out a whole range of things, and maybe get it to write a vision that says, how do I feel? What does that look like? Read that vision every day. what we think about, we bring about. We're just not conscious enough to program ourselves to do that. But little things like that, you will start to see I'm moving towards something that matters to me. And I want to give a little tip, if I can, for actually using the acronym SHIFT. Can I share a little tip?
Yeah, of course.
And so one thing that I think often helps people is in a moment where I'm feeling a flood of stress or anxiety, I'm feeling like, everything's going pear-shaped. I just can't cope anymore. I think of the word shift. And so, and I do little physical motions with it. So feel free to join me, Stace. So shift first, the S is stop. So we use the S to stop, right? So we stop and then we hold. Yeah. So we stop, then we hold. Then we intuit. So we feel in our gut. Yeah. Feel in the gut. Then we feel, for the F, we feel, what is my heart telling me right now? Then we think. Yeah. So we go stop, hold, intuit, feel, think. And then we make a choice. So that only takes like 30 seconds. And in actual fact, any emotion we feel, because we're emotional beings, any emotion we feel only chemically lasts in the body 90 seconds. So when we feel like, oh, I'm so mad, someone just cut me off in the traffic, or how dare they speak to me that way, right? Or like the tragedy that just happened in the world and here at Bondi, like the emotions that no doubt come up, and that's completely human and normal, but they actually only last 90 seconds chemically. And if they last longer than that, it's because we've let our dear little brain get involved and we're now telling ourselves a story and we're hooked in and we're repeating it. And that repeated story then starts to bed into our DNA and our cells. So if instead we just did a stop, hold, intuit, feel, think, that little pause breaks that energetic state. And then we can come from a more compassionate place. Think about, is this healthy in my environment? Do I choose to hang on to this, or am I going to just drop it? And you know what? More than anything, I drop a lot of shit now that I would have held on to years ago, and wore as badges of honors. Oh, I'm holding that, and I'm a good daughter and I'm this, that, and the other. Just let that shit go. Just be kind to you first, take pauses. You don't have to answer everyone in the moment and the now. You can say, I need some time, like really be a good human to you first. And you'll be amazed at how that wheel can start to turn. It doesn't instantly, but it will. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just because it's just, this is seen as hippie, and a doctor hasn't prescribed this to me, and, you're not going to lose anything by trying it. Like earthing is something I've been looking at doing. Yes. I'm just trying to make my grass so full of excuses. One, it's been raining. 2 spiders live in my grass. I'm trying to make my grass green to earth, but let's put those excuses aside. But even like standing out there and earthing yourself and like doing that whole, I could see me doing that in the morning. And that might take a minute, but maybe that's, I'm incorporating earthing and just really stopping. As you said, like there's a lot of shit I don't do anymore. Like I'd be one to, typical lawyer, you fight back and it's like, you know what?
Right.
Yeah, you won. Congratulations. Like you're not worth my time.
Bygones.
Yeah, exactly. So I suppose that's probably leading to, there's a shit ton of other questions I had, but that point is probably then leading on to like, okay, so maybe better boundaries need to be set. So, usually we set boundaries and, contact me anytime you like. Oh, yeah, no, I'm available after 5. Yes, I'll see you on a weekend or whatever it is. So things happen because we've allowed boundaries to be set in a particular way. So to start to find that little time for yourself, what are some ways that people can put up boundaries in place where they don't feel like they're being an arsehole or a bitch or something for putting themselves first. And if the other person has interpreted that way, then congratulations to them. You can't control other people's emotions. So what are some boundary tips that you can give people who are trying to incorporate this hippy-dippy, non-prescription way of life to try and reduce some stress?
Yeah. Well, what have you noticed first from yourself? What have you noticed that works? Because it sounds like you've been doing a little bit.
I was definitely one of those people who would work like 7 days a week. I would see an email and I'd feel compelled to respond straight away, and then I would. And then, even before I started to, I won't say sick because I'm not sick, because I'm, give me 5 weeks of treatment, I'm going to be done mentally preparing for that. But I would, like, they don't know that I've read that. They don't know that I've seen that. No state. Like, stop, close. Putting an office on was always the worst because I'd always respond. And then I went through a stage of not responding, and then people were yelling at me for not responding. I'm like, but you always respond when you're out of office. I'm like, oh my God, that's a boundary that I've set. Okay, well, like, I'm sick. Like, I'm really, really sick. Like, and at the moment, my out of office is on as well. So there was I can't tell you what the conscious moment was, as I said, it was before, like, where I am now. But definitely just going, what, your energy is not aligned with mine. I have no problem cutting you out of my life, type thing. Like, I'm done. You're not the right client for us. You drain our energy all the time. You're not appreciative. So, see you later, type thing. I suppose that probably sounds really brutal. So maybe I have taken a brutal approach to my boundaries. But
no, that's great. It's whatever works for you, right?
And, like, why? Like, I don't need 50 bajillion Facebook friends. I don't, you only need that small crowd, right? So if you're on that same path, then fine. And maybe you might associate with people, not as often as what you did. But I suppose I've taken a brutal approach to it. I've gone from nothing to
and again, it's whatever works, right? I just say it's all about conscious awareness. So even if you just started with a piece of paper, post-it note or a note on your phone, but I prefer paper. I like paper. And a line down the middle. What are my drainers? What are my gainers? What are the things that drain my energy? What are the things that give me energy? And just notice through the day. Oh, Bill Smith is a bit of a drainer, Mary, she's quite good, doing the washing, total drainer. For me, I love doing the washing. I love hanging it out. I hate putting it away. It's like just noticing some of those things. And especially if you're in a team, you start going, are any of your drainers my gainers, and vice versa? Could we swap some tasks? Could we do some of that? I noticed that this drains me of energy. What am I doing to fuel that? And could I start, putting a bit more of a boundary around that? I also think we've overcomplicated so much in human interaction. I really believe clear is kind. Quite often we just feel guilty, so we over explain ourselves. I'm sorry, I can't answer that email today because I've got this and this going on, and then that happening, and then would it be okay if I, instead of just going, thank you for your email, I really value you as a client and I'd love to be able to serve you properly. At this time I cannot, so I'd suggest you find someone else. Like, clear is kind. Just being clear. Quite often it's like managers and leaders do those shit sandwiches when they're giving someone feedback, say something nice, give them the hard stuff, then say something else nice. And I'm like, people are just confused because they're like, I think I'm okay. Like, what's going on? Instead, just go, hey, when you did that, this is how it made me feel. It's important because of this. I would really love it if you could do it differently, like this next time. What's your thoughts? Right. Or we need to have a conversation. It's not going to be easy for either of us, but I think it's really important for us to have. This has been going on. We just don't clear the air enough and then not carry baggage. So for me, boundaries is actually, I think to myself all the time, clear is kind. How can I still be kind here? I'm not trying to blame someone or make something bad. Everything's neutral. Like the washing that I have judgment around is completely neutral. It's neutral. I'm stacking it with my thoughts because of my beliefs. So could we instead just be clear, be kind, start just noticing, what are my drainers and gainers? And each week, is there some way I could have a little bit less of drainers in my life? And, nothing's perfect all the time.
Yeah.
But the Mayo Clinic have done research that shows that people are engaged at work if they love their work 20% of the time. That's all.
Wow. That's really
They don't
low,
have to love it. I know. They don't have to love it 100 or even
Probably
50.
more
It's
time
just
at work
20.
than at home. Like,
you only have to
wow.
love it 20% for it to be engaging and still enjoyable. And so we have these high standards of everything's got to be amazing all the time. I've got to drive my Maserati to work, and, I want the angels to sing when I enter the room. Yeah, it's not like that at all. Like, find your little things that give you energy and make sure you've got enough joy and energy in your life, and you'll be able to ride through some of those other things, I think, that drain you. But you have to advocate for yourself. Again, like the elders say, boss of self. If you don't, no one else will, and then you've got no one to blame.
Yeah, 100%. And as I said, it's all those micro shifts, right? Like all those little micro shifts add up. So you might want to spend, 30 seconds, you might make your cup of tea in the morning or your coffee. Instead of sitting down, you might want to go outside with no shoes on and earth. And then you can do the whole stop thing. And then you might want to walk back in and sit back down and do whatever it is. Like just all those little micro changes that you can do add up. And like, don't have guilt with it attached to it. Oh, I didn't do it today, or I raised my voice, or whatever. Don't have guilt attached to it, because it doesn't need to be guilt. You don't need to make yourself feel any worse than probably what you're making yourself feel.
There's an old Chinese proverb where it's two monks walking along, like a senior monk, an older monk and a young new rookie monk, and they're walking, and monks aren't meant to touch women, like there's rules around that. And they come to this crossing, and there's a woman trying to cross the river, and she's uncertain, nervous about crossing the river, and the old monk takes off his robe, lays it down across for her, and holds her hand and helps her across, and then puts his robe back on. She goes on her way. The pair of them keep walking towards another village, and they're quiet for like an hour, and then the young monk says to him, "You touched that woman back there, like, what were you thinking?" kind of thing. And the old monk says, I put her down an hour ago. Why are you still carrying her?
Yeah.
Right. So he was like, in the moment, I had to respond. I did what was best, but I also let it go. I did what was best. Ahimsa, do no harm. Whereas the young monk's still thinking about it and processing, and, and the old monk's like, I put it down. So we have the potential to drop a lot of the shit that we carry. We can actually put it down. That nasty thing your mother-in-law said to you 10 years ago, are you still carrying it? And every time you carry it, that's energetically somewhere stored in your dear body. And that actually is the whole point of meditation. When we meditate for 20 minutes, it's like 2 hours of sleep, and it has the same ability to cleanse our body. So every time we meditate, it's like a defrag on a computer. It releases and clears up the brain. So any of that stuff, and we don't have to psychoanalyze it. It's not like psychotherapy. We don't have to go, oh, remember that happened when I was 12. We don't have to do that. Every time we meditate, a little clean sweep happens and a little bit more goes. And so the process of it is actually just becoming more and more light. And so our body is cleansed of that. And so that's why we meditate. It's not because we're trying to calm the mind. It's actually because we're trying to free ourselves. Because we all deserve to be happy and healthy and free in whatever way that looks for you. And wouldn't you wish that upon every human and animal on this planet? Wouldn't you just want everyone to live their best life? Like, do it for yourself. And that's the beautiful thing about consciousness and some of Dr. David Hawkins' work, is the higher in consciousness someone becomes, which is clearing themselves of their energy and resistance that they're holding on to, the density, the more clear someone becomes, actually the bigger ripple effect they have. So he says one person at the energy level of 500 love, which also is where a cat's purr is at, by the way. Cat's purr is at 500 love frequency.
But you don't have any cats.
No, just dogs and possums and wallabies and wombats. One person at 500 can positively impact up to 500,000 people.
Wow.
through their being. So even if you're a mum and you want a happy household, be happy in yourself, and your kids and your family will thrive too.
I like that. I think, I remember doing the levels of consciousness when
Mhm.
I think I was rebranding. I think that's where we brought that into with like
Yes,
colors
yes.
and everything. But yeah, I know I'm definitely guilty. Like I just said, an hour ago, put her down. I like, something will happen about 2 hours later or a day later. I'm like, hang on, like, and you bring it up again. It's like, why the fuck are you bringing it up again? Like it's done.
Yep.
Like it's it's like we want to punish ourselves like all the time or something. I'm not even quite sure how it happens,
Well,
but definitely
our brain is programmed, right? And so 60,000 thoughts a day, 58,000 of those are the same as yesterday. So if we want to shift our life, we have to, I think of it like ski slopes. I'm going to ski down the hill, and every time my skis want to go in the same groove because it's easier. So we are patterned to think the same way. We have to consciously choose differently. So every time that happens, we just go, oh no, I'm not thinking that way. I'm thinking about something that I love. And probably the biggest antidote to all of that is just gratitude. Like, have gratitude. What am I grateful for? Stop for a moment and go, what am I grateful for? I've got food in my fridge, a roof over my head, my kids smile. That's it. Done. Yeah. Replace any of those with a gratitude. Yeah.
I like. Well, there's so many other things that we can be talking about, but we're going for nearly an hour. So to wrap up today, is there anything that you want to finish on? Any tips? Anything?
Gosh, there's so much, isn't there? And I feel like we've covered eons already
on this.
I would just say the system, the universe doesn't respond to your performance. It responds to your truth. And you can't positive your way into trust. You have to be in alignment. So find those things that give you energy, that make you joyful. Find a way to live more in line with your truth, where I don't have to push, I don't have to reject, I don't have to fight. I'm just me. And the more you do that, I think the more you surrender to just, that's me, the more you will attract the right people in, the right opportunities, and you will learn to just love yourself. And that's not a weird woo-woo thing. I just think when we can say, truly, I am happy and I am healthy and I am free, that's the greatest gift. And whether your life is 2 weeks, 2 years, 100 years, if you can truly say, I lived my way, I think you've done life well. Yeah.
Done well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. If anyone would like to work with AJ, I completely recommend it, whether it's as a team or within yourself. We'll make sure we put AJ's links below in the show notes. But thank you very much. And thank you for letting me have my nap before I get today.
Bless you. I love that, right? You knew what you needed. And I'm really happy to honor that. Thank you for sharing your honest truth and always showing up authentically, Stacy. That is what makes you memorable. And, I've always loved working with you because I know that you come 100% as yourself. So bless you. And
putting myself a bit more forward first, I'll be putting myself,
love it.
I'll be practicing that a bit more.
My hat's off to that.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for joining us today. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.